Good afternoon to y'all. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for your patience as we have worked to get this press conference scheduled. Thank y'all for that. I'll have a few introductory comments and then be happy to take some questions from y'all as well. For those, and just met all of you, but for those that we just met, I'm John Burns. I'm lucky enough to represent the community that it's been my home. It's been my home my entire life. Georgia's 159th House District, which includes Scriven County and portions of Bullock and my home county, Effingham County. For those unfamiliar with where that portion of this state is, the nearest city you will probably recognize is Statesboro, which is about a half an hour's drive from my house. I'm honored to serve as the House's 75th Speaker. And I want to again thank my colleagues for their trust and for their confidence in me. As y'all all know, certainly, our appropriations committees have just concluded their joint hearings. And we're looking forward to Governor Brian Kemp's State of the State address, which will be given next Wednesday, January the 25th. As you've seen this week, our House Committee on Assignments has been hard at work on committee leadership and member rosters. And I'll tell you, it's a great bunch of folks been truly dedicated to making sure we look at all the members of the House and make sure that those folks are recognized and put in the right places so we can do the work for all Georgians. I'd like to talk a bit about some changes we have made to committees. As you know, I discussed earlier, made mention of, we divided the former Health and Human Services Committee into two committees. And I would mention here that Chair Sharon Cooper has done an outstanding job for Georgia leading that committee, and I look forward, as do the other members, as this new formulation working with her and all the other members. Now, this new alignment will allow the House to take a deeper dive in health policies that impact Georgians. We've also created the House Special Committee on Health Care, which will be chaired by Chairman Butch Parrish. In this role, Chairman Parrish will work with the chairs of all of our health-related committees, legislative and budgetary, to ensure coordination on this important, complex topic, health care. There are two other committees I'd like to bring to your attention that I'm excited about as well. First, the committee formerly known as Science and Technology will be now known as Technology and Infrastructure Innovation. Chairman Todd Jones will lead that committee, and it will deal with new emerging technologies and how they impact Georgia's economy. Think here to topics like electric vehicles, which we know a little bit about in Georgia, and broadband infrastructure. You know, our state, the good state of Georgia, is home to the best college football team in the nation, 2 years running, no doubt about that. Go Dogs. We're the #1 state for business in this country. For how many years running? 8 or 9 years running? There's no reason we can't be the leading state in high-tech industries going forward in this United States of America. Second, we have another new committee that I'm excited about as well, Urban Affairs, which will deal with issues facing Georgia's metropolitan areas like Atlanta, Augusta, Columbus, and certainly Savannah. Continuing the spirit of bipartisanship in the House, Representative Brian Prince of Augusta will chair that committee, a dear friend of mine. With that, I'll be happy to take some questions. Thank y'all for your attention.
Mr. Speaker, can you talk about your leadership style, being the man in charge now? Of course, you've had a leadership position for years now, but now being in charge, and also how you're going to approach social issues, abortion, guns. Could you support more limits on abortion? Any action on that this year, or do you feel like Georgia's already in a position where you're comfortable with on that issue?
Sure, I can do that. My leadership style. Well, I'm just an old country boy. And my entire life, you've had to bring all your resources together to the table to make sure you impacted problems you faced, opportunities that you faced. And certainly I think that's where we are now in the House. When I look down the new members of the House, the returning members of the House, I see a great pool of leadership, of special areas of expertise, and I think it's my job to make sure every one of those areas of expertise is put to work and deployed employed in the right manner. And I'm committed to doing that, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on. And we're going to make sure that we focus on getting the job done for Georgians, and we're going to be bipartisan about it. But we're going to make sure the right people are in the right place. And I think you'll find out a little bit later this afternoon. Y'all have seen the list on chairs and vice chairs. You're going to see the new committee assignments come out this afternoon. Again, I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm excited about the opportunity for our members to get to work. Social issues. The House has always taken the lead when it comes to any issues that affect this state. And social issues are certainly one of them that Speaker Ralston led on. I think the House has led on it. You know, I'll take one for instance, you mentioned. We addressed the right of the unborn to protect the unborn in House Bill 481 back in, I believe it was 2019. I supported that legislation, continue to stand by it. But we also know that it has been challenged, and it is now before our state Supreme Court. I look forward, as I understand, to them taking that issue up and rendering a decision in the early spring or in the spring when they take it up. So I look forward to listening to them and understanding what their decision is. And certainly the House will continue to monitor that, and then we'll continue to be proactive and be engaged in any social issue that comes before the people of this state they care about, the impact us all.
Speaker Burns, could you talk about how you see the House's role related to the state Senate and your relationship right now with Governor Kemp? You said the House is taking the lead, but how do you see the two chambers interacting? There's been friction in the past. How's your relationship with Burt Jennings, and sort of where's the House in this stool that you'll always think about?
I think we're on the honeymoon. What do y'all think? So, you know, I don't know when the last time we were able to, certainly the years that I've served as majority leader, that we were never able to come up with a adjournment resolution that scheduled the whole session out. I think that speaks to that issue. Are we going to be able to get along? I'm certainly impressed by the new leadership in the Senate. There are many of them I've worked with in the past. Lieutenant Governor Jones is certainly able and ready to serve. I found him to be open to discussions, and certainly I look for, you know, we like to kid the Senate about when they like to go to work, and we've been there for hours and all those type things. But the true issue is they're hardworking folks who care about Georgia, as are members of the House. And I think we're going to get along well. As far as Governor Kemp goes, he's led our state through some very tough times. Governor Brian Kemp is the leader that we needed in those times, and I look forward to continue that partnership with Governor Kemp. And I think they look to the House, because it is the people's House, to make sure that we bring the people's message to the Senate and to the governor's office and have our input. But it's going to be a great partnership, and I'm looking forward to that as well. I think that's important for Georgia, and we're committed to that.
Mr. Speaker, could you
Okay.
talk about this push to perhaps eliminate runoffs in Georgia election? We've had some support in both chambers and certainly from the Secretary of State.
We do. Runoffs have been a part of Georgia's election law for a number of years, as we all know. And the House is certainly, along with the Senate, has worked diligently along with the governor to make sure that elections in our state are open, transparent, and effective, and fair to all. I look forward to this discussion on runoffs. I have not made a decision as far as runoffs go, as far as personally or as far as working with the leadership in the House. We have some very talented people who know a lot about election law, and I look forward to working with them. And certainly there will be lots of opinions here inside the chamber, outside the chamber, and I look forward to bringing all those opinions together and then making a good decision as far as where the direction we'll take in the House. But that's down the road a little ways. Thank you.
Speaker Byrne, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You talked a little bit about abortion. There was a bill that died on the calendar on Sine Die last year that would have required women to get an exam before they could be prescribed abortion pills. Do you have any interest in that bill becoming law this year?
I think the posture that the House should be in is certainly the posture that John Burns is in. We're going to wait and see exactly what becomes with the the legislation we passed, we're going to make sure that legislation with House Bill 481, the language in it is effective and is supported, and certainly we believe it is, that it was good legislation, it's good policy, but we're certainly waiting to make sure the process works. We're going to hear from the State Supreme Court, and then we'll move forward on something then if we need to. If not, we certainly have something in place. Now I got you.
Thank you, Speaker. Ty Kagami from the AJC.
Hey, Ty.
Education's a third of the state budget. We've been hearing calls for years now to overhaul the 40-year-old QBE. Is this going to be the year when that happens, when schools get more money for transportation and technology? And coupled with that, every year we see legislation for vouchers. Do you think there's a chance that we'd see legislation like that passed?
I'll take the last one first. I think we're going to have a very robust discussion when it comes to school funding, when it comes to vouchers and other issues that come before us. I see that and hear some discussion there, but I'm looking forward to that discussion. I believe we have, we have a very diverse state when it comes to education funding, whether you're from rural Georgia or whether you're from urban Georgia, and how funding impacts us all and how it comes into this equation. QBE certainly has been made, several attempts have been made to address the issues around QBE. My wife, as a former teacher and school principal, I certainly understand the need for adequate funding for schools and children and grandchildren that attended public schools. It's a priority. If Georgia is going to remain the #1 place in this country in which to do business and provide the quality of life that's important to all of our citizens, we have to be educated. And certainly those resources working in conjunction with the locals, school boards and the local governments that help fund education in the state. I think there's a partnership here that we will be respectful of, but we certainly need to continue to do our part from the state level. And yes, I think it's a conversation that some very informed members of the House will certainly be weighing in on. And certainly one of those, y'all have already seen it, that Representative Chris Irwin will now be leading our K-12 committee. And so I look forward, as former school superintendent, I look forward to a lot of input from Chairman Irwin as we move forward on this issue. But yes, nothing's off the table for us. We're ready to discuss a lot of things that certainly improve the life of Georgians. Dave?
Yeah, perennial discussion on legalized gambling again this year. We just had an opinion, the former Supreme Court Chief Justice, that you could do sports betting without a constitutional amendment. Where are you on all that? Should we try to do them all at once, do them separately? What do you think?
Chief Justice Melton is certainly a very qualified judge, as he demonstrated in his service to our state as a Chief Justice. You know, that's an issue we discussed over the years in the House. It's had a life of its own, if you will, in the House. Speaker Ralston certainly entertained and discussed with members, with folks from the outside that wanted to implement some of those issues in the state. I believe the position of the House is now we're still looking, we're still considering. We want to make sure that we consider all the implications of whether it be sports betting, what it has on the companies in our state that would be impacted by sports betting. But the bottom line is we need to make sure we've considered every aspect of how you deal with those type issues, and certainly it's one of those things that I'm not sure about at this point in time about the ability to do something with sports betting or any other type gambling issue without a constitutional amendment. But I will tell you this: we have a number of very qualified attorneys in the House, and I look forward to leaning on them as we look at this. Chairman of Estration and Chairman Burchett, or Whip Burchett, are very smart young men, and a lot of other folks that have experience in this field, and certainly I'll be leaning on them to help formulate some opinions as we look to work on these areas that are important to Georgia. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Cowell.
Sarah, no, you're good, Sarah.
Yes, thank you. Sarah Cowell, QPB. Thinking back to the legacy of the late Speaker David Ralston, two things in particular come to mind. One is his ability to work across the aisle, and I know you've spoken about that a little bit. What specifically would you like to do to promote bipartisanship? And second is his legacy with mental health legislation. Is there anything you support with expanding that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. In the back next. look, Speaker Ralston led this state, he led the House, he led this state. And one of the most important issues that for Speaker Ralston in the last few years certainly has been mental health. Chairman Todd Jones, Chairman Mary Margaret Oliver were stand out on that issue. They will continue to be engaged on that issue. We will continue to engage on that issue through our new health formulation. We're going to make sure, and that's the great thing about what we're doing with this new look at health innovation, health care. With Chairman Parrish is going to be working with all of those committee chairs to make sure we're able to focus, and that, not that we haven't been in the past, a couple $100 million last year went into mental health. So we want to make sure we address the issue broadly, whether it be mental health professionals, as we look at an issue that impacts almost every family in this state. I can't think of any that I know of that haven't been impacted by mental health issues. So it's on the forefront for us. It's a front burner issue, if you will. We're going to continue to be dedicated to working with the legacy of Speaker David Ralston. That's what he would want us to do, and that's what we're going to do. We'll make sure that is a priority, as it has been, it will continue to be. Thank you.
Abby Casoris with Gray Television. Making it through budget week, one of the things that stood out to me was the Department of Labor Commissioner, and he had kind of said his budget had been cut into a third of what it was, and that career centers across the state were already having to reduce some of the services that they were able to provide, and that they were going to have to continue to do so, and this would really affect rural areas, some, like the one that you represent. Do you feel like that's something that the House can do, add additional funding because of that grant money, that $100 million grant that got re-evaluated and put into another department? Is that something that, looking back now, that you might be able to discuss in the House?
Oh, absolutely. We look forward to working with Commissioner Thompson. He was a great friend when he was in the Senate, and we look forward to continuing that relationship now as in his new role. And certainly, the ability of Georgians to have a job, and for us to do our part, everything that we can. We do a lot to help enable Georgians to have jobs with it, whether it be Quick Start, at working with them when they lose their jobs, but certainly preparing them to have a job through the Department of Labor. I think the partnership can be strengthened, and I look forward to hearing I did not, to be quite frank with you, hear the discussion that occurred in the Appropriations Committee. We were a little bit busy with some other things, and Chairman Hatchett was ably taking care of that. So I look forward to reviewing that testimony and working with the Appropriations Committee to make sure that we take care of those issues and do our best to work with the Commission. I think we can do that. Yes, ma'am.
Georgia has one of the lowest tobacco tax rates in the country. There's been discussion in the past about raising that and some bipartisan interest in raising it maybe to like the regional rate or something along those lines. Are you open to increasing it at all?
I'm open to discussion. And certainly that's one of the areas we'll look at, something we can look at if it arises to that level. Certainly, and I think we have the right folks in place when we look at the focus we're going to take on a broad perspective on health. And certainly if that's something that arises to a level of us wanting to have more serious discussion, we can have those. But at this point in time, as you say, it's been discussed over the years, and we look forward to continuing discussion. And certainly from a bipartisan perspective, that's the easy part of it. We'll certainly be having those discussions back and forth across the aisles as we take all the viewpoints in consideration. Thanks.
Speaker, Raul Valley, WAVE Radio. Significant discussion about housing, and in a couple of areas, affordable housing, workforce housing came up at exit issues. Where do you stand? What are you looking to do? Is it taking some control from counties when it comes to zoning? Is it doing something with code standards? And then on a broader point, do you have concerns about corporations coming in, either buying single-family homes or even building whole neighborhoods of single-family housing?
Raul, you just laid it out too. It's pretty complex, isn't it? And I would thank the AJC for their coverage of the housing crisis here in Metro Atlanta, and appreciate the information that y'all have provided to us. First, let me say, the House will respect our local partners. whether it be the cities and the counties. Those are where decisions are made on zoning and other issues that impact a lot of the issues around housing. Certainly, we'll respect their decisions, but we want to make sure that we have a robust discussion with our partners on the local level as we look into the issues. We can't be the number one place in which to do business in this country, and we can't provide the quality of life unless we have quality housing for the people of this state. I know this is something that we will take a deep look into in the House. I'm not exactly sure where that policy leads us to, but it's an issue that we will be involved in this year, and certainly, we certainly, as far as developing and having that discussion with the private sector, as it deals with the building of homes, single-family homes, that's certainly, we've had a study committee that dealt with that issue. I'm looking forward to working with the report from that study committee, and I think the House will, again, be a big part of that discussion as we move forward on making sure we have quality, affordable, healthy housing for Georgians.
Speaker, a follow-up to that question from
Sure.
The AJC investigation you cited found that Georgia has, the Georgia laws on tenant protections are among the weakest in the nation. So will strengthening those protections be a part of your agenda this year?
Sure, I say sure. The answer is sure. We'll be looking into those protections, and again, with our local partners to make sure that the Georgians are protected, but being very respectful of local leadership in that area. And it's been a partnership over the years. I see no difference in how that will be handled in the future. But we certainly will be engaged in that space and certainly having conversation. And if state resources are involved, then we'll have that discussion as well. But we'll certainly have a robust discussion with our local leaders. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, on the flip side of that, there's been corporations that have come in and bought up whole segments of communities, and there's some counties that are where half of the housing is owned by outside, and when I say outside, I mean outside the country, corporations. Is there anything that you see that needs to be done with regard to addressing that issue of absentee conglomerates owning a good bit of the housing in some of these counties in Georgia?
Certainly investments in housing comes from many different places. And a lot of them are, many of them are locally owned, owned by local developers. That's certainly one of them, and certainly some of them are owned by outside of Georgia entities. There's no doubt about that. Here's what I'll tell you, and I'll say this to you again. We want to be a part of discussion. We will be part of the discussion of how we provide affordable housing for all Georgians, whether it be a starter home, whether it be renting an apartment, no matter what format that is, or renting a single-family home. I believe we'll be a part of that discussion. I think the results of our study committee will help us derive any policy issues that we may need to be a part of and take a lead in that area. But it's, again, like many of the issues we face, it's very complex. We do not want to stifle private investment in our state when it comes to housing and public housing, as well as private housing as it comes into all of those different spheres. We'll do that, and I think it's something we'll continue to work on. We have great leadership in the House when it comes to working with local issues, and I look forward to working with them.
Quick follow-up on that. For some of these communities, many of the homeowners are concerned that many of these so-called absentee people are strictly there for the investments. They're not there in terms of dealing with the very close to the ground issues that the private homeowner has against somebody who's got a whole subdivision of houses that they need to rent, where they have absolutely no say-so or be able to kind of deal with these people in terms of concerns or problems they have. Is there anything that the state can be doing to help alleviate those kinds of problems? What kind of legislation?
Again, we will be looking at all of those scenarios, but a very powerful piece of that whole question is the local control and how the locals deal with it. But certainly, we will be having those discussions with GMA and ACCG as to any possible solutions that the state may be involved in.
Mr. Speaker, as a reporter on healthcare, I've obviously been very launching into different new initiatives to, for all of these committees to deal with if they're gonna have more work. Listening to you, I'm wondering, is it fair to say that mental health is a primary driver of the creation of, Butch Parish's committee, and will be one of the primary things that that it will be taken on? And kind of a side question to that, if the state were to take on, gaming, would you be looking at the gambling addiction that tends to come with that as a gate opener?
Yes and no. No, mental health is not the only driver to this focus on health care. Health care access is provided in many different ways, whether it from workforce development, from training of physicians in this state, from all of the folks that are a part of the health care process. We need to take a look into and make sure we're supportive, and not a one-time shot at maybe doing something for the Medical College of Georgia, Augusta University. We need to make sure that we all have a long-term focus on health care training. As we make sure those providers, we need to make sure we're a welcoming place for professionals that come from out of state that want to come to Georgia. We need to make sure that process is seamless and rapid. If they're well qualified, we need to make sure that occurs there. There's a place for them here in Georgia. Certainly from any sort of mental health issue, I believe and again, mental health, we can put lots of dollars into mental health, but if we don't have the folks that are there to provide the services, so that's one of the things we have to work with our higher educational facilities across the state, whether it be Mercer, whether it be Augusta University, or the other health care providers across the state. We've got to make sure we have those opportunities where in that whole process, it's not just about graduate from medical school. Then you need to have the residency programs available to make sure we're able to provide that health care access and that care that's long term. And so it's going to be that's what's important, and that's why I'm really excited about the health care, and with Butch's leadership, Chairman Parish's leadership, that he sees the total picture, as do very 5 qualified committee chairs and committee members. We're seeing that whole spectrum of concerns, and we're going to make sure that we're focused on what we need to get done and things we can do. It's just going to be important to get things we can do.
You just, if I can ask, you
What?
just mentioned the Augusta University and Medical College of Georgia money, the $105 million for a new record system for them. Is that going to be a gift to Wellstar Health System, which just closed Atlanta Medical Center, as they negotiate a new agreement with them?
Well, I don't think there's any gifts out there. I think the Medical College of Georgia is important to all Georgians across this entire state, as is the Children's Hospital of Georgia. It's a part of that. It's provided health care not only in rural Georgia, but all across our state. As some modernization, it's an investment that we needed to make as citizens of this state into the Medical College of Georgia. Now, the next step, I'm not privy to all of the discussions and the arrangements around any sort of partnership that may occur with Wellstar, but I can tell you this. I'm for ensuring that there's medical care access to all Georgians, and to have that, we've got to, and the quality of providing quality medical care, and to have that, we have to have trained physicians, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that partnership works out. In the back there.
I guess it wouldn't be a speakers news conference if someone didn't ask about Buckhead. We know how the former speaker, the late speaker, felt about it, and the former lieutenant governor. This lieutenant governor has expressed some support for it. Where do you stand on this issue?
Is that the Buckhead City Incorporated or not incorporated? Which one is that?
Buckhead City.
I'm kidding with you. I'm kidding. Certainly, we all are entitled to feel safe in our homes and where we live in this state. And certainly that has been a concern. Public safety has been a concern with the folks in Buckhead City. I've certainly been a part of that discussion and been in the room when it's been discussed. I believe that Governor Kemp and Mayor Dinkins have taken steps to help provide public safety enhancements to the city of Buckhead. And, I believe, as I like to say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so hopefully those enhancements will are already taking effect. And certainly I look forward to making sure that we continue to work with all of the partners state and local, to ensure the public safety of all the residents of not just Atlanta, but around this state. And that will be a priority. Public safety will be a priority for the House as we move forward. And we look forward to for the discussions with the Senate on the issue.
But to follow up, is that something you would put on the floor for a vote?
That would be speaking, you know, say it like this, Ro. I can't say, because, you know, as part of the job here and part of the job before I got into this new job is, you know, you had to look at the language. You had to look at everything about it and make sure that it was addressing the issue. But that's a little preliminary right now. So, but if the issue comes up and it's desire of the membership, we'll take a look at it.
Speaker,
Go ahead.
I was hoping you could talk some more about electric vehicles. You know, the governor has said he wants to make Georgia the electric mobility capital of the country, if not the world. What is the legislature's role in making that happen, and does it include passing some EV-friendly legislation?
How much more friendly could we be to EVs than what we've done? The future, EVs, the opportunities for Georgia, whether it be Rivian or whether it be Hyundai down my way, is awfully exciting. Chairman Todd Jones has a vision of technology in the future, especially when it comes to EVs, autonomous vehicles, all sorts of things that are futuristic that are going to be a part of our state. I'm appreciative of the work that Chairman Jaspers has done over the summer on a study committee that's looked into these issues. It's like everything else we do in the House and in the General Assembly. It's complex. So we're going to make sure we get it right, because too much is at stake if we don't get it right on our part of this. And certainly I support Governor Kemp and the work he's done to ensure, whether it be in automobile production, whether it be in battery production, and the enhancements of technology coming from our schools, our research institutions, is how batteries are improved, how everything in that whole space is improved as we look forward to the future. I'm convinced that Georgia can lead the nation when it comes to technology, and certainly I believe that with the production of our electric vehicles in this state, we're poised to certainly take that lead, and I believe we can do that with the right policies.
Mr. Speaker, going back to healthcare, where do you stand on the idea of full-scale Medicaid expansion, or do you support Governor Kemp's vision of a more limited expansion tied to workplace and other requirements?
I believe where we are right now is that Governor Kemp's, the waiver, certainly will give us an opportunity to take a look at how it works. And that's what we need to do first and foremost. But, you know, we, in the House, we've addressed the health care needs across this state in a number of different ways in the past. And I know that we've had an impact as we've increased health care access and the ability for Georgians to receive health care. We've supported FQHCs across this state every year. We've funded FQHCs from our perspective, health care training, whether it comes with AU, whether it comes from psychiatric fellowship or surgical fellowship, psychiatric residencies that we've created, that we've made sure those are in the right posture. I believe the House has done an admirable job, I'm going to call it, to making sure we expand health care access to Georgians and make sure Georgians are provided with health care. And Governor Kemp certainly is leading the way with this, with the waivers. And I think we need to give it time. He certainly is. It's another very complex area. I believe we need to give Governor Kemp's efforts here a chance to be.
So is that a no on full-scale Medicaid expansion for now?
That would be correct.
Mr. Speaker, the House leadership and yourself last year made a tremendous, huge first step with House Bill 1120, as has already been touched on, in mental health. But no hospital has stepped forward to create in-bed patient capacity for youth and adolescents. Children's Healthcare is going to do a behavioral sciences building and going to do some inpatient, outpatient, but there's no new capacity for the surge in teen suicides and the behavioral health issues we're having. Could the state, with some of this one-time surplus money, offer match dollars, use the State Health Planning Agency to push them in that direction? Because there's no question there's a need, and it's one of those logical next big bites. Is there appetite for that from you or Chairman Parrish in that direction.
If it's a need, we're going to look at it. And I think that committee and the committees are uniquely qualified to do just that. And that's what we wanted to focus on. We wanted to make sure if there is a need, and then we can address it, that we make sure we put the right policy, whether it be fiscal or whether it be a policy that we need to adopt to change some of the statutory language, that we can adopt that. So thank you for bringing that up, and that's certainly one of the things we'll take a hard look at, and I'll make sure Chairman Parrish gets this message.
Do the last couple, please.
Mr.
All
Speaker,
right.
we've heard you respond to some of the top issues facing our state, but certainly the Speaker has a loud voice. The Speaker can set his own agenda and highlight your own priorities. What are some of the things that you'd like to get done? What are your driving issues?
Mark, thanks for that. You know, I'm just an old country boy who's had a good run at it, and has enjoyed the benefits of having good friends here, great support from a great family, served with a lot of good people my entire life, working with them, not just serving but working shoulder to shoulder. So what I believe is, and how I've always conducted myself is, certainly there are things that come to John Burns's mind, but how I like to do it is to sit around a table and have discussions about what's important to my fellow man, certainly important to other leaders in this state. And I think when you do that, you bring out the issues that we can make an impact into, and I believe that's how you'll see me operate as Speaker of the House, because we have a great number of qualified people. But as long as anything that we do leads to one thing, and that's a better life for Georgians, as we always like to say, hey, we want to leave this place the best place to work, live, and raise a family, and I'll add, have a little fun. So we're going to do that. That's what drives John Burns, looking to the future to make sure that our future is just as good for the next generation as it was for me, the life I've lived, and I'm enjoying now. So thank y'all.